shouldn't be many HDRs anyway.
Sure, very way back.
I think the point system has changed.
Yeah, he knows. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get a little bit used to it. 10, it's nice diagonal lines. The red leaf has a nice pop against the background. The leaf looks a little soft. I'd like a little crisper focus on the main subject. And 10, did I say the score? Uh, 12, there's a lot going on. It is well sharpened. It's an interesting scene. It's hard for your eye to land on any particular subject, but there's nice lighting and there are some nice shadows there. Ten. The sky's blank, boring. The late light is nice on the mountain. The foreground in shadow is busy. There's no distinct subject for your eye to land on in the foreground. And when you have a horizontal line in the foreground like that road, it's almost like a block for your eye trying to follow back through the scene. If you could have found any kind of a line that would have led back into the background, it would have helped it out a little bit. But it's a good time of day, nice light on the mountains. Very cool pattern, very distinct shadows, definitely goes with the flow with the assignment. The repetitive pattern is pleasing. 12. There's a nice sky. The point of view is excellent. The photographer took a minute to stand really nice. There's no convergence between the cross that's casting the shadow and the shadow itself. Very distinctive. 13. It's a busy scene. The shadows are nice. The pop of the blue is a very nice colored blue. It's very attractive in the photograph. The whole scene is well exposed. It's a high, bright, high key kind of a scene in the background, but it's all well exposed. I don't see anything blown out. I did score it, right?
11.
11, yes, okay.
Thank you.
10, the foreground on the right-hand side just isn't sharp. The receding ridge lines are very pleasing. There is a sense of depth and dimension that's nice there. And the upper left isn't blown out. It's a little bright, and you do lose some distinctiveness and contrast as you go back through the scene with your eye in the upper left. But it's mainly the out of focus foreground that makes it kind of tough. Definitely whimsical, tack sharp, nicely positioned in the frame. I like the square frame rather than the usual 2 to 3 ratio. 13, very fun. You can see the texture on the eggshell, technically very, very nice. it's a 10. The sky has a little bit of interest in it with those clouds. At least is late, low angle light on the hillsides once again. A little later in the evening might have been a little better hue, but probably would have lost the light on the mountain at that point. The foreground is empty, and there's just nothing in the foreground of real interest. Great composition. The main subjects are off to the right edge, which gives them some power and some presence in the photo. The shadow is sharp. Black and white is pretty cool with an assignment of shadows. 13. Crisp backlight, boy, that's awful nice. I'll give that a 14. The outline of the dragonfly is intriguing. It's not distinct, but you know clearly what it is. The lighting's excellent. It's tack sharp. Very cool. Paddle border is well positioned in the frame. I don't know how much it really fits the criteria for shadows necessarily. Beautiful sunset, nice composition, 10. Just don't see the shadows there. 14, sweet light, some depth in the shadows, especially in the canyon towards the back. Nice clouds. The foreground works, leads your eye back into the frame. Nice picture. Once again, distinct shadows, little curve of the road. Black and white works well for this theme. A little, the foreground's out of focus once again. It kind of halts your eye a little bit in the front there. 11. Uh, 13. It's an excellent concept. It's midday light, and that makes it kind of hard to get a higher score to. The photographer, I assume, and companion shadow right down there in the foreground is a very interesting element in the composition, and there is some depth dimension and something going on there. The light sucks though. Midday light. I wish the shadows were complete. Waiting a little bit of time for one of the waves to come in a little bit further and to complete the shadows of the main subjects in the foreground would have made it much more impactful. And it's a little oversaturated. Did I score it?
Yeah.
Okay. It's an intriguing abstract. There's a nice gradation of lighting. It's got a nice tilt and lilt to it. There's actually even a little movement as you look at it. It's kind of cool. It's like 14. It's an interesting shot. Artistic. the top is tilted, is that part of the projector, or what's?
No, that's.
That's how it was submitted? There's a brilliant sunset, nice background, the real shadows are in the lower foreground and the tree line in the back. 13. Great shot directly into the sun. No flare much, a little bit in front of the brush in the foreground, but tough shot to do technically and pull off like that in beautiful color. That's a 15. It's just fabulous lighting. Little feathers stand right out. It's tack sharp. He's in the middle of a behavior, and it's cute and it's artistic, and there's just a lot to lend itself to that photograph. It's beautiful. There's enough of a shadow. The light is obviously coming from the left, the shadow of his head, and Bill is distinctive enough to fit the criteria. Nice shot. Cute. There's some great angles in it. Nice colors. The blue and gold together like that. They work well with each other. It's very pleasing. Color combination. There's a couple spots, especially for the assignment, that are a little bit bright, a little less exposure. Might have helped it for both the assignment and for the photograph itself. Just a touch bright, perhaps. Somebody got down low and got a fabulous angle. It's got a vanishing point. There's like a classic technique to give depth and dimension to a photograph. What's a little bit detrimental is there's a little bit too much negative space in the upper right-hand corner. There's just there's a big chunk but there that there's not a lot going on, but the point of view and the exposure, the black and white, everything about it, other than that blank space is awful nice. I don't know, I'm going to give it a 15. I just am looking for the Chanel logo underneath it. It's lighting, and it's a photograph like you would see in an ad in a magazine. The translucency, the color combination, the light that's coming from the left there is just bright enough. Shadows are distinct. It's a great shot. I can see it in a magazine. It's a great concept, distinct shadows, some motion present. It's heavy and blocky in the bottom. There's an awful lot of shadow going on, and probably a little too much, a little bit overpowering. There's a lot of visual weight there at the bottom, and not a lot of detail to go with it. The textures are superb. The leading lines are nice. Your eye goes back through. The repeating patterns are arranged in a way that it does give it some depth and dimension. There's a good range of tonal qualities there, from really kind of bright to completely black. Very nice black and white.
Is that inside of a piano, or what is that? Does anybody know, can the maker say?
I wondered that, it looks like the inside a piano. It
That's what I
does.
thought.
Is that a covered bridge?
Oh,
Is it?
okay.
It's abstract enough, it's just a cool shot.
Mhm.
15, it's got immediate impact, it's sharp and crisp, it's flat out black and flat out white, very great concept. It's a great shot. It's a wonderful concept. It's whimsical. It's a great idea. The shadows of the people and then the heart up above is very cool. I can't find anything to detract. I'd give it a 15. It's a beautiful shot. It's got great placement in the frame. I like once again that it's square. It's closer to the middle of the frame than you would usually place a subject like that if it were the 2 to 3 dimension. But being that close to the middle works well with a square. Once again, the grades of light are really nice. The stark black background and then the grays and the whites work very well. It radiates, your eye keeps rolling around, full shot.
Wonder who did that one.
13, it's got fabulous texture. It sure has an awful nice shadow there with the doorknob. There's almost a little too much going around as you roll your eye around the outside of the frame, particularly on the left-hand side, recomposing and just getting it a little bit closer and simplifying that frame might have been helpful. But, great concept, technically done well with the exposure and the sharpness was excellent. Sorry. 13, it's a very interesting shot. It's a little busy. If it was a little more simplified and there were fewer tables and chairs that were more distinctive, it probably would have been a little better statement on the subject. Did I score it? That's not if you're waiting.
13.
Okay. 12, it's a great action shot. The skateboarder seems a touch soft, a little bit out of focus perhaps, but the shot's all down there in the lower left-hand corner. There's so much of the frame that doesn't help or isn't necessary for the subject and his shadow. There's a lot of distracting emptiness, particularly upper left-hand corner. Once again, just tighten up, recompose. Anything that doesn't really help the subject, you don't really want it in a photo. Nice texture in the snow, which isn't always easy to do. There's an awful lot of light foreground, and then particularly the upper left-hand corner in the trees where it is blocked out and completely black, but across the top of the frame. So again, it's a visual weight thing when you've got a lot of black or a darker color on the top of a frame. It's a little unsettling, and then it's light at the bottom. It's kind of hard for your eyes to accommodate that sort of a scene. But the tracks are neat, the lines are neat. It's got a lot going for it. It's a great concept and technically nice. The snow looked good there. I love the textures, the ripples, the S curve as your eye goes back through it. The only thing that caught my attention that kind of makes me want to make a point off is the flare. Sometimes it helps and works, but there's a couple of the specters there that are, right away my eye went to them in that one shadow and were a little bit distracting. But boy, it's a great shot. It's a great point of view, and it's a classic S curve leading back into that sunrise or sunset there. I just don't see a distinct subject. There's not anything for my eye to land on. There's not even a real distinct shadow to play with. So there's probably a lot of shots in that building. It looks like an old prison or something maybe. But it's an awful lot of empty space in the bottom 2/3 of the frame. It's once again there's, I guess, it's just a little busy. There's nothing distinctive that I want to rest my eye on that is compelling to look at. The little buckle there with the rust on it and stuff is kind of where your eye wants to go, and it's in the shadow rather than casting a shadow. A little bit of a different angle maybe with more of a diagonal with that main rod there. There was some texture, good idea. Also maybe a touch of just harsh light. Sunburst is beautiful, well done, nice concept, beautiful shadows in the foreground. Once again, there are some flares, hexagons visible up above, a little bit of a distraction, but not quite as bad as the other photograph when the color is so bright in the specter there. It's busy. There was a more refined shot perhaps once again, getting rid of some of the extraneous parts of the frame, especially off to the far right-hand side. There's a lot more visually than is necessary for the subject, which is that beautiful sunburst and the immediate shadows that it's casting towards us. I think it's very artistic. I like the color palette is nice. I don't see, once again, we're back to the assigned subject shadows. There's some darker areas there, but I don't see what's really casting them necessarily. A little bit indistinct that way, but it's like a broken bottle, I guess, or something. But Yeah, the translucency, the colors, they're all pleasing, it's nice. It's a nice setup, there's pleasing colors. Once again, you got the warm and cool colors, the background warm, the blues, the cream colors, the crosses. Nice lineup. Nice colors, nice concept, nice shot. Excuse me. 14, it's a great use of natural framing. You're looking through a couple of doorways, brings your eye right back into the subject. It's cool how she's looking away. There's a couple of different lighted areas and a couple of different shadows to fill out the assignment. It's a little bit of chalk or whatever, adds a little bit of interest on the left-hand side of the frame there. The mural on the wall behind, it adds to that atmosphere. It's a very, very nice shot. Once again, that's a really good use of a vanishing point, give depth and dimension. Both the top and the bottom of the frame lend themselves to that technique. The hoops on the top receding as well as the shadows on the bottom. It's just a horrific light. That sky is washed out and bright, and the light in the photograph is harsh, but the photograph is very well done. Good point of view. The lights, the real killer there. Boy, that's a 15. It's the shadows and the ripples in the foreground qualify it for the assignment. Lighting on the ship and behind is just fabulous. The textures, the intricacy of the rigging, I don't know how much of it's natural vignetting around the edges, but whether it was just that way with the clouds and the light or somebody did it post-processing, it was handled deftly if that was the case. Your eye goes right into the ship. Detail's incredible. Super shot of the Niagara there. If that is a Niagara, I'm not that into tall ships. Superb lighting, superb lighting. It's a really nice use of natural framing. There's some distinctive shadows there with the tree. The exposure's good. Colors are nice. It's just one of those midday kind of shots that there's no compelling lighting, but it's a pleasing photograph. Give it an 11, and I hate to do it. I love the shadow behind the sail there. There's just so much of that frame that's bad sky, bad light, distracting background. The shot of the shadow and the sail is great, but really needed to recompose and eliminate a lot of the extraneous portions of the frame. give it a 12. It's very interesting. Once again, it's busy. There's a lot going on. Every point of light there wants to attract your eye, and it does so to the detriment of the subject and the shadow. It's well exposed. There's good tonal range. It's busy, and particularly when you have those bright spots there, it just drags your eye towards those and away from the subject. It's wish there were more distinct shadows, once again, for the assignment necessarily. The tower and the dock, the sky are beautiful, a little heavy-handed with the saturation, but just a touch. It's the left-hand side of the frame, once again, is a little bit extraneous. There's too much not dating the photograph on the left 1/3 of the frame. It also looks like I don't know if it's on the screen, but it does spot that could have been zapped off and helped out a little bit. It's evident enough, that spot up there, to kind of attract your eye. You can tell what the subject is, but there's not a lot of detail there. Once again, it's harsh, white, midday kind of lighting against the cement there that's not real compelling or pleasing. And I'd like to see more of the subject that was casting the shadow, or less, I guess, even. But that little bit of the bicycle or bicyclist is not enough to get my interest, and it's enough that it just is kind of distracting. (13) is a much softer, nicer light, pastel-y colors, and very directional but softer light. There's no harshness to it at all. Once again, you got the warm and cool colors working together well. There's a lot of detail, but it's not real busy looking. It's interesting to let your eye walk around the frame and look at the textures and the colors and the lines. It's a beautiful spot of light in the lower left-hand side of the dune. Nice texture there. I guess I like the angles there, so there's a lot to recommend this photograph. I think there's, once again, I'm back to it's heavy at the top, but the angles, the lighting, the textures, everything else is right there, but it's a little heavy at the top, perhaps. Simple shot, nice concept, distinctive shadow. Pretty good tonal range. The upper portion of the frame with that another tabletop or something behind, I think is distracting. And once again, it could have been just eliminated, simplified a little bit, a little different composition, and clean it up. But it's nice. Nicely placed, the vase or pot, whatever, was nicely placed in the frame. It's a good shadow. The stone behind, if it were a little more diffused or a little less bright, once again, your eye wants to go up into the upper left-hand corner of that frame. Chippy's cute. He's engaged in a little pop of color with the berry or whatever he's eating is a nice touch. It's just a lot of brightness in the background and detail in the background that kind of pull away from the subject. Once again, got the vanishing point thing down. There's fabulous textures. There's some decent shadows. Your eye goes back through. It's like that one. If there was something, a little bit of a silhouette in the door or something, a little tickler. It's a great concept. Technically nice. Lighting's good.
Yeah, they're there when they first come up. They always disappear. Oh, yeah. We could have somebody say it, I guess. But they always disappear. Do you want to do that? It doesn't matter. Yeah, do you want to announce it? It looks like there's two first places.
Yeah, that's hit over the head.
This is bronze.
14.
Yeah.
Okay, this is bronze. Looks like we have two 14s.
The name's up in the upper corner.
Keith Petat is the first one.
Okay.
And yep.
Bring them up.
You want to bring them up?
I thought we usually did. Okay, and I'm sorry, I'm not even gonna try with the name, because I have no idea. Does anybody know? Is the
No.
maker here?
Karadia, Nishan Karadia.
Nishan?
Karadia.
Karate? Okay, very nice. Very nice. So silver. Gold, 213. And no holes. Silver. Was this the only 15?
Yeah, that's the only one.
Okay, only 15. Monica? And platinum?
Three.
350.
Wow.
Three.
Oh.
Okay, Gail went down. Tracy
We knew that.
and Tom Whitney.
Recognize that one. Or we could, yeah.
That,
Okay, are we ready to move on?
that was very Tracy's, so it was like, I'm thinking, but I wasn't sure if she took it. Yeah, it could have been somebody else's picture. I love that job.
Okay. Okay, this is the general category.
we're not announcing the names. Should we be announcing the names?
Yeah, somebody should.
Oh,
Yeah.
Patty usually did that.
Yeah.
Well, it's on the image.
Okay.
It's being shown.
It shows up for the first couple seconds.
Yeah.
A little snack.
It's a great moment. The touch of the highlights blown out on the back of the bird. Tough to get one of those without doing that. But that exposure's pretty much as on as you could get. The background is very distracting. That white board or whatever it is going across the background at an angle at the top. The sticks to the right of the bird's wing, all those just pull your eye away. The fish has a nice light on it, but the bird's face is kind of in shadow, and as I say, he's kind of looking away from the viewer. But nice exposure, nice moment.
Red-tailed hawk.
15. That's a clean, nice background. It's a beautifully executed shot. The placement in the, once again, the frame is square. The border that's been put around it works. The bird is engaging, and the textures of the feathers are soft and nice, but the eye is crisp and clean. The whole thing's put together very well.
Angel of light.
Make sure this wasn't one of the other ones. 10. It's a nice concept. The light is harsh, bright, unappealing. I think what probably would have helped more than anything is to recompose and not cut the top of the angel's head and wings off, and to complete the subject and the shadow within the frame.
PNC Park.
It's a beautiful sweeping photograph. 14. Got to be a pano, or somebody's got a good technique to make it look that way. I don't know, I have a hard time sometimes with these digital projections. It seems a little grainy or noisy, or whatever the terminology would be, up in the sky. Maybe a little bit of too much saturation up there. But the sweep of the photograph, the subject is clear and distinct. It's a very nice shot.
Whose shoes by the river?
It's an interesting concept. The lighting's bright and harsh once again. It's interesting, but not compelling. The sneaker's full of the leaves. The background rock. There's a lot of distractions there away from the concept. The idea could play out different ways. A little side lighting, etc.
Sunset at Benazet.
Uh, 15. There's foreground, middle ground, background, sky. It's a beautiful landscape shot. The folks in the foreground are sharp and well lit. The overall exposure is very pleasing. The color palette is nice. It was composed so that the sky is boring and plain, but minimized in the frame. That's a really great way to go in such a situation. The bull elk's looking up and towards the camera. Game Commission could use it in one of their brochures. It's neat. Great exposure, great color.
Buckeye butterfly.
We see a lot of these, and it's easy to get a little bit jaded with them, but we have some fabulous photographs of moths and butterflies. I love that background. It's soft enough and indistinct enough that it doesn't really compete with the subject, but it's a nice environment to see the critter in, and it's just like tack sharp and beautiful color and great exposure and yeah, nice.
One vent under a warm moon.
11. It's kind of split a little bit too equally. It's like a bottom water, a third of the frame, the top sky, a third of the frame. There's not a lot going on in either one. And then where your eye is drawn to in the middle there with the lighting and the walls and the turrets is interesting, but it's not exciting because of that placement. The moon's cool. The exposure's pretty good.
Standing through centuries.
That's a really cool sky. It's you have to judge how it's presented. It's a wide-angle shot, tilted camera, and it's distorted because of that. That works well sometimes. It's not unappealing here, but it does. It's a touch unsettling, but still interesting. The lighting's great on the building. It's an interesting shot. Excuse me.
Sweet tunes.
The nice thing about this is the selective focus. It's like a third of the way back along the, I guess it's a brass instrument, a horn of some kind, or but the foreground and the background are out of focus, and then there's just a nice little point there where it is in focus. Adds quite a bit of interest to the photograph. Perhaps even recomposing and backing off a little bit, it feels crowded. The frame feels crowded with that big out of focus sphere up in the foreground, taking up so much of the frame.
An evening river crossing.
It's a beautiful mirror. The background is, and the upper part of the frame is bright and distracting. Probably the most detrimental part of the photograph. That elk calf's eyes, you can see that it's scared. Your eye goes right to the eye, and it looks like it's a little bit afraid or something. Nice behavior shot. Catching him in the water is fairly unusual like that. A little bit of motion going on. And the bright, distracting background is a tough thing to beat like that. Neat moment.
Heavenly view.
13, it's a great concept, it's a nice framing, it's well exposed, there's a beautiful cloud, it's kind of a nice foreground with the green against the blues, just enough interest and enough of a presence to give it some sense of depth and dimension. Once again, it's kind of just, it's the moment in time. It's harsh white light. If there was warmth or softness, or you can't put in an order for it. But other than just it's hard white light, but it's a beautiful, beautiful shot.
2 ways.
The open and closed doors side by side there are make it a compelling subject. Once again, the top third of the frame, that big light-colored expanse up there, kind of takes your eye up to the top where nothing is really happening. Recomposing and just getting the doors, the arch, a little bit of the pattern to the left, would have focused viewer's attention a little more on the intended subject.
Tribute to Lawrence Welk.
The subject below in the bubbles there is well positioned in the frame. The setting sun is cool. There's a nice glitter path. The colors seem a little skewed. I don't know, maybe that was actually how they look in the sunset, but looks a little saturated or tweaked and a touch unnatural perhaps. But yeah, the downwind bubbles and the setting sun, very, very nice shot.
The Steps of Time.
Nice texture. 11. Nice textures, nice leading lines. It kind of bounces back and forth from flower pot to flower pot as your eyes move up the stairs. The killer, once again, is that sky, just bright, white, blank. Once again, I like to say recompose rather than crop, so you're not throwing out pixels. And the wires across the top, could have popped those out in an editing software program and just cleaned it up a little bit. But yeah, good eye for the sweep and the vanishing point once again with the depth dimension.
The Emancipator.
I love the lighting. It's really hard to take a photograph successfully of any other type of art, including statues. The only thing that I wanted to nick it for was the lines and the wall behind him coming down into his head and down out of his nose. If that background is cleaned up, it's fabulous lighting. I love the position of the, I'm not supposed to say that, but I do, the position of face and eyes looking out of the frame. Yeah, it's a great shot. It's just those lines in the background that give me some pause.
And God uses all the crayons in the box.
13, excuse me. Once again, it's a great concept. The person looking kind of wistfully off over that beautiful scene. The colors pop. The red on the left is well exposed and very pleasing. It's just harsh midday light once again. It's just the time that the photograph was taken with that kind of light that knocks it down a notch or two in score. Yeah, it's great with the lighting, but that moment of the day, it's just tough.
Eating time.
$13. It's a great silhouette. I love the harsh white and black. The bird's body is blocky. I want to just look in there where his talons, probably the fish, and that open beak are. But there's such a, so I'm going to get back to kind of this, like the weight of it is in that body that's somewhat overpowering in the frame.
8 crosses at Kishy.
It's much softer, nicer light. Maybe could have even used a touch more exposure. There's not a lot of pop in the domes or turrets or whatever you would call those elements of the structure. The sky's beautiful in the background there, nice pastel colors and kind of a wash of colors like you would expect to see in an oil painting. It's nice, but a touch busy maybe.
Summer gorgeous.
The exposure is great. Beautiful moment. There's a lot of, once again, just like negative space, right-hand side, upper right-hand corner in particular. The streamer going up right next to the tower, and the streamers coming down and actually touching the top of the tower there. A little bit of separation to make the tower look clean in the frame. Been a little less distracting perhaps. Yeah, nice colors, nice pop. I keep wanting to say something about the border is a little brighter, broad maybe. It's a nice color, and maybe a little thinner border would have not one to pull my eye so much out of the main subject.
Norfolk Southern.
$13. It's a great shot with the motion, the blur of the train. Everything else is tack sharp, which is what you need. Everything but the subject is still sharp and gives your eyes somewhere to settle. The exposure is great. The sky has a little interest in it. The stones in the lower left-hand corner, the brightness there, and it doesn't add a lot to the frame. I guess that's the biggest distraction of it. But technically, it's excellent. Very good shot. Just that composition.